It drifted in silence at the edge of the Arcanine system. A single black ship, long, jagged, and motionless, as if it were abandoned or adrift. No fleet, no diplomatic escort, just one vessel that bore no flag, no beacon, and no sign of peace. The Galactic Union didn't understand. The high councils of 11 civilizations gathered in urgency. They studied the transmission logs, the flight pattern, the shape. It didn't match anything. It didn't speak. It didn't respond. It didn't belong. "Is this a probe?" one of the Arcanine lords muttered across the comm, his voice thick with unease. "It's too big," a Nareth commander replied. "Hull analysis shows it's military grade but unmanned, probably a bluff." "The humans?" said another, with an almost scornful tone. "Didn't we already clean up Earth 2 cycles ago?" That phrase, clean up, wasn't forgotten. 50 years earlier, the Galactic Union had deemed Earth a threat. Too aggressive, too independent, too uncontrollable. The purge was swift and brutal. Orbital bombardments, atmospheric disruption, silence within hours. Earth was never colonized afterward, considered cursed. Yet here it was. A remnant, a ghost, a ship from the ashes of a planet no one believed had survived. Still, the vessel remained unmoving, cold, like a dead animal floating in space. The scans picked up no life forms, no transmissions. But inside, buried deep beneath heat shielding and black titanium, he sat, alone. Not a crew, not a team, just one man. Call sign, Gideon. He didn't wear rank insignias. He didn't carry medals. There was no honor in what he was sent to do. He didn't volunteer. They found him 10 years after the fall, one of the last human war dogs, living like a ghost in the asteroid belts, scavenging tech, keeping his rage warm and sharp. They told him Earth was gone. They told him humanity was declared extinct by vote. He didn't cry, he didn't shout. He simply asked, "Where's the vote room?" They said it was done already, signed, sealed, the galaxy had moved on. But there was a ship, a prototype, hidden in the ruins of Mars, meant to be Earth's final deterrent. No crew, just one pilot, one vengeance engine. And it was his now. Back in the present, the Arcanine sent a scout vessel to make contact. It didn't return. No weapons were fired, no explosion detected. It simply vanished. Sensors lost track of it the moment it came within 20,000 kilometers of the black ship. Then a message was broadcast. Not in galactic standard, not encoded, just audio, a human voice, deep, cold. "Don't come closer." The councils panicked. "Is it automated? A eye? A bluff?" They sent another ship, larger this time, armored, carrying diplomats and shield arrays. It disappeared faster than the first. Then the human ship moved. Just a fraction of a degree. Barely perceptible. But it pointed itself toward the nearest Arcanine defense station. Still no engine flares, no heat surge. It turned like a predator adjusting its aim. That's when it fired. It wasn't a beam. It wasn't a missile. It was something else. A ripple, almost invisible, passed through space like a silent scream. And then the station just ceased. No fire, no debris, just absence. Within seconds, the galactic comnet was flooded with panic. 50 defense systems turned their sensors toward the ship. 30 battle stations locked weapons. 12 civilizations went into red alert. Still, it didn't speak again. It didn't demand anything. It just floated, adjusting its aim, choosing its next target like it had all the time in the universe. Gideon sat in the dark cockpit, his hand resting over the trigger pad. His eyes didn't blink. His jaw was clenched. Inside his mind, memories bled together, of Earth burning, of orbital firestorms, of the silence that followed. He remembered the sound his daughter made when the air stopped working. the way the Union drones watched from the sky as if it were a show. This wasn't justice. This was reply. The galaxy didn't ask for terms when it ended Earth. So why the hell should he? They called it Project Black Echo, a ship with no crew, no orders, just a mission. Respond if Earth falls. Gideon was never supposed to exist. Neither was this ship, but both did. The second target fell just as easily as the first. No warning. No mercy. The blast didn't make sense to any known physics in the Galactic Union's military database. It was classified as event wave disruption. It didn't explode matter. It unraveled it. The molecules stopped being molecules. Time and motion lost meaning. A fleet of 63 defense drones simply blinked out, like they'd been erased from memory. Across the galactic core, fear began to spread like an infection. Gideon sat in his command chair, silent, unreadable. The lighting inside the ship was red, not for drama, but necessity. Black Echo's AI kept life support minimal. Power was conserved for one purpose: firing, movement, retaliation. This wasn't a long mission. It wasn't meant to be. It was a message, and the galaxy was starting to read it. A chime rang inside the cockpit, faint like a heartbeat through static. Another fleet approaching, bigger this time, faster, organized. Gideon didn't flinch. The Union had finally stopped underestimating him. The display screen flared. 37 ships, 2 flag carriers, stealth scouts running ahead of formation, quantum jammers deployed across the arc of approach. They meant business now. Gideon leaned forward and stared at the blinking lights on his screen. They looked like stars. He let his hand rest over the fire pad again. Slow. Careful. No rush. He was outnumbered, outgunned, surrounded. Good. That made it fair. Back on the Arcanine capital ship, Admiral Kethus barked commands in all 4 dialects of the High Fleet. "Do not engage! We're here to surround and contain! Bring him in!" The fleet held formation, tightening its sphere around Black Echo like a noose. Their weapons stayed cold. They wanted him alive. They wanted answers. Humanity was extinct. This made no sense. A channel was opened. A projection filled the main command bay. A human face, scarred, sunken, hollow-eyed. Gideon didn't speak at first. He just looked at them, like he was staring through the entire council. "What's your name?" Admiral Kethus demanded. Nothing. "Identify your vessel. You are trespassing in a protected star system under Article 7 of the—" "You ever burn a planet, Admiral?" The voice stopped everyone. Cold, deep, human. Kethus' mandibles clicked awkwardly. Are you the pilot?" "I asked you a question." The Admiral tried to remain firm. What do you mean, burn a planet? If you're referring to the Earth resolution?" "I am." Silence again. "We deemed your species a threat to stability," Kethus continued, trying to sound composed. "Your people rejected Union. You fired on peace envoys. You refused to disarm, and you erased 1 billion civilians in 4 minutes." Gideon leaned closer to the screen. You could see the veins in his neck, the twitch in his cheek, the kind of rage that didn't scream, the kind that simply waited. "I was there, Admiral. I heard my daughter suffocate while your peacekeepers monitored oxygen levels for efficiency. I listened to your bombs fall through the crust like it was a drill site." He took a breath. 1. Controlled. "You never asked us why we didn't join. You just decided we shouldn't exist, so now I'm giving you the same answer." The feed cut, and the sky exploded. Black Echo didn't move forward. It moved through. Faster than light, cloaked in distortion fields, it appeared behind the rear guard of the Union fleet and fired 2 event waves before the ships even registered contact. Both flag carriers vanished in less than 2 seconds. The other ships turned, scrambled, fired blind. Gideon didn't dodge. He vanished again. Black Echo used gravitational folds, not standard propulsion. The ship bent space like a slingshot, appearing and disappearing in short bursts that drove the targeting systems insane. 3 more ships fell. 2 collided, trying to follow his path. The rest broke formation. In under 9 minutes, 20 ships were gone. The rest fled. Admiral Kethus was no longer broadcasting. Inside the cockpit, Gideon exhaled, but he didn't smile. There was no satisfaction, no victory, just another scratch off the list. The AI voice finally spoke. Calm, genderless. Target Cluster 3, LIDAR listening array, coordinates set. Gideon didn't answer. He just sat in silence. The LIDAR array wasn't military. It wasn't industrial. It was informational. It housed the Union's deep archives, including the classified Earth resolution footage, the votes, the debates, the faces of every delegate who signed off on the purge. Gideon wanted it gone. Not because it was strategic, but because it stored the lies. The ship shifted. The stars outside blurred. The entire cockpit stretched for half a second, then snapped back to stillness. They had arrived. LIDAR's station was shaped like a lotus, 6 massive petals of steel and glass spinning slowly above a frozen moon. Civilian workers, researchers, no soldiers. He hesitated. For the first time in hours, Gideon hesitated. The AI noticed. Civilian designation confirmed. Strike recommendation rejected. Tactical advantage low. Gideon didn't speak. Then, after a long silence, override. Prepare firing sequence. The AI paused. Override acknowledged. It began charging the event core. Then, something strange happened. A new signal appeared, unencrypted. Human, not text, not video. A voice. Gideon, if you hear this, I don't know if you're alive, but if you are, I need you to stop. His hand froze. It was a woman's voice, software familiar. He looked at the display. It wasn't a trick. It was a recorded loop, transmitting from a relay buoy buried beneath the ice of LIDAR's moon. Old tech, Earth tech, decades old. The voice again. This is Commander Alina Rorn, United Earth Resistance, 11th Division. You knew me as Captain Rorn. I was stationed on Mars when it fell. We failed, Gideon, but we weren't all lost. We escaped, scattered. Some of us hid. His breath caught in his throat. I left this message in case any of us ever found a way back. Not to fight, not to win, just to remember. The transmission crackled. I know what they did. I saw it too. But if we become like them, we're already gone. Silence. The event core was fully charged. The ship pulsed with energy, hungry. Gideon stared at the screen. He could still fire. He could still erase them. But something felt fractured. I have logged the transmission, the AI said flatly. Strike authorization remains active. He didn't move. His finger hovered. The LIDAR station spun in the dark, quiet and unaware. Then, finally, he pulled his hand back. Cancel firing sequence, he muttered. The AI paused. Command acknowledged. The ship dimmed. The power drained from the weapon slowly. Gideon sat back and stared out into space. They didn't deserve mercy. But maybe that wasn't what this was. This wasn't about mercy. It was about not becoming them. Suddenly, a fleet signal blinked on his scope. Another force was coming. Bigger than before. Not local defense. Not Arcanai. The core Union fleet. Gideon narrowed his eyes. 72 warships, 3 dreadnoughts, 1 Supreme Command vessel. All headed toward him. The peace was over. The voice of Alina Rorn was gone now, silent beneath the ice. But it had cracked something inside him. He wasn't done, but he wouldn't be reckless. This wouldn't be a massacre. This would be a reckoning. He stood up slowly and walked to the command port. He looked into the darkness of space and whispered, "Let's see what justice looks like with blood in its teeth." Black Echo charged its core again, but not for the LiDAR. It bent light around itself, folded space, and disappeared. The galaxy had asked, why did humanity send only 1 ship? The answer was simple now. Because 1 was enough. When Black Echo re-emerged, it did so on the far edge of the Helix Reach, a stretch of fractured space known for unstable gravity pockets and electromagnetic storms. Perfect hiding ground. Perfect ambush ground. Gideon didn't pick it randomly. He needed time. He needed space. The core fleet was coming. But they weren't all there to fight. At least, not at first. He studied the formation from afar. 72 ships, 3 dreadnoughts, 1 central command cruiser named Harmony's Judgment, a bloated beast of armor and arrogance. Every ship gleamed with the Union's gold and blue standard, like a floating shrine to bureaucratic murder. They came slow, cautious. They'd seen what he'd done. The reports had reached every civilized quadrant by now. 1 human, 1 ship, 15 Union outposts either vaporized or missing. Some still thought it was propaganda. Others were already preparing countermeasures. Gideon didn't care either way. He leaned back in the chair, eyes closed for a moment. The voice of Alina still echoed faintly in his head. If we become like them, we're already gone. He wanted to hate her for saying it. He wanted to shut it out. But it stuck to his ribs like guilt. The AI interrupted his thoughts. Incoming transmission. Source, Harmony's Judgment. Encrypted. Decrypt it. A moment passed. Then a voice filled the cockpit. Male, young, cocky, too calm. Pilot of the unidentified human vessel. This is Fleet Commander Dalen Crine, speaking on behalf of the Core Union. We are not here to escalate. We are here to talk. Gideon said nothing. I repeat, the voice continued, we are not here to destroy you. Though let me be clear, we can. Your ship may have outmaneuvered planetary defense rings and wiped minor outposts, but against a full tactical fleet you are cornered. Still, Gideon stayed quiet. The arrogance was familiar, comforting in a sick way. So, Crine continued, let's not pretend you're in control. Surrender the ship. Come aboard peacefully. You'll be heard. If there's any truth to your accusations, we will investigate. The Union is not the monster you think it is. Gideon leaned forward and finally tapped the reply pad. His voice came through cold, flat. You're late. The monster already fed. There was silence on the line for a moment. Crine replied, more serious now. You're angry, I understand. But your people were not... My people were burned alive while your council debated cost per missile. Another pause. I'm not here for therapy, Gideon added. I'm here to explain something your ancestors should have learned from ours. You don't kill a civilization and expect no reply. You don't silence an entire planet and sleep soundly. This isn't the way. Then you should have picked a different one 50 years ago. He cut the line. No further words. The AI chimed again. New readings. Multiple stealth signatures detected. Ships approaching from rear sector. Evasive recommended. Stay put, Gideon said. Warning, risk level. I said hold. He knew what this was. A show of strength. Send the speaker to sound calm while the knives close in from behind. Classic Union playbook. He wasn't offended. He was ready. He powered the event core, but not to fire. Not yet. Instead, he ran a silent pulse sweep. 33 ships, stealth variant, high-grade rail repeaters, not defensive, assassins. They thought he didn't know, that maybe he'd grown sloppy, hesitant after sparing LIDAR. But Gideon wasn't soft. He was calculating. He waited until they closed to attack range, then unleashed a cascade EMP that shattered stealth cloaks like glass. Instantly, space lit up behind him with confused formations and blinking drives. Then he fired. Not the event wave, something smaller, more precise. The ship's secondary plasma lances locked onto engines only. Gideon didn't want them dead. He wanted them floating. Scared. 14 ships were crippled in under 6 seconds. The others broke ranks. He sent another message. "You want to talk, Krine? Then bring your voice to me, alone." No reply for a long while. Then, finally, agreed. Gideon narrowed his eyes. That was too easy. "AI," he said. "Scan that ship." Command vessel has lowered shields. Sending auxiliary pod. Single life form aboard. He waited. Minutes later, a shuttle drifted into range. No weapons, no tricks. Just a small circular pod that looked more diplomatic than tactical. Gideon allowed it to dock, but not inside the main airlock. He opened an auxiliary bay sealed from the rest of the ship. Inside, he waited. When the door hissed open, Fleet Commander Dalen Krine stepped inside. And he looked nothing like what Gideon expected. Young, not even 30. Human, or close enough. Pale skin, dark eyes, no military scars. He walked like a man used to winning by talking. Gideon didn't stand. Krine looked around, impressed despite himself. "This ship is remarkable." Gideon's voice was dry. "Built by people you thought didn't deserve to live." Krine turned to face him. "I'm not here to debate the past. I'm here to stop more blood from being spilled. You're about 50 years late to the concern party." "I wasn't alive when Earth fell." "You are now." Krine exhaled and pulled a small data chip from his coat. "You should see this. It's sealed records, from the Earth resolution, everything. The internal council footage, the real votes, the internal dissent, all of it." Gideon didn't take it, just stared. "Not everyone agreed," Krine added. "There was a motion to delay, to investigate further, to send proper envoys. It was overridden. Political pressure, economics, trade routes." "Profit," Gideon said flatly. Krine nodded. "Yes, that too." "And now?" Krine looked tired suddenly, like the truth weighed on him. "Now we have what we've always feared. A ghost, a weaponized memory. You've shaken the core, Gideon. You've made them remember Earth. But this can't go on. We can't survive you." Gideon leaned forward, voice low. "You think I want to survive this?" Krine froze. "You think I'm here to negotiate some future where humans sit at the table again? I'm not. Earth is dead. My family's dead. This ship is my coffin. I came to show you what justice sounds like when it doesn't ask for permission." He finally took the chip. "But I'll watch it." Krine stood silently, as if trying to decide whether to speak more. Then he nodded once. "I can offer you safe extraction. We'll bury the records. Rewrite the history. Clear your name." Gideon looked at him like he was made of glass. "I don't want my name cleared," he said. "I want your people to remember it, every time they see a world burn, every time they push a button and call it peace." Krine turned toward the airlock. One final glance. "You'll die out here." "I already did." Krine said nothing more. He left. The AI confirmed disengagement and closed the airlock. Gideon sat alone again. He loaded the chip. The images rolled across the screen, shaky council footage, greedy faces, cold statistics, projections showing Earth as a liability, votes cast without discussion, a few voices shouting, drowned in silence. Then came the kicker, a closed-door meeting, an admiral saying, "A single ship could destabilize entire sectors if they survive this. We must ensure total erasure." Gideon stared at that face, then saved it. Target acquired. AI spoke. Voice match Admiral Sovra Tal. Current location, Kefar Citadel, Core Union Seat. Gideon stood. No more outposts, no more fleets. This ends where it started. Kefar Citadel floated in orbit over the twin stars of the Syndral system, a monolith of silver and cobalt, shaped like a perfect sphere with sharp rings rotating around it, each layered with weapons, sensors, and ships. It wasn't just the seat of the Core Union. It was their pride, their heart, their throne. The kind of place that never expected anything to get close without permission. But now it had something coming that didn't care for permission. Black Echo sat cloaked inside a dust field just outside the sensor net. The dust wasn't natural. It was the leftover remains of 3 mining moons destroyed in a corporate dispute 2 decades earlier. The galaxy had a habit of leaving its scars lying around, uncleaned, unhealed. Gideon studied the Citadel from his cockpit, his hands calm, eyes fixed. Admiral Sovra Tal was in there. She was the one in the footage, the one who'd made the final case for Earth's purge, the one who had leaned forward in that cold, wood-paneled room, looked into the eyes of her fellow leaders and said, "They do not bend, they do not comply. We have bent far enough. They will burn." That was it. That was the vote-tilting moment. She didn't use logic or compassion. She used fear. And they followed her. Gideon had watched the clip 17 times. Now it was time she saw him. The AI's voice buzzed softly. Kefar defense grid fully operational. 36 orbital stations, 3 fleets docked, 72 interceptors on patrol. Security protocols? Gideon asked. Full biometric lockdown. No unidentified vessels permitted within range. Good, he said. Let's ruin their day. The event core wasn't an all-purpose cannon. It required build-up, focus, timing. It could erase almost anything, but only if it was still. The Citadel didn't stay still for long. He needed a different plan. This wasn't about brute force, not now. It was about the message. He activated Black Echo's stealth core, took the ship in slow, threading through the dust like a hunter through fog. The ship's shape warped light, absorbed radiation. It was invisible to conventional sensors. But too close, and Kefar's AI would smell something wrong. Gideon waited. Watched. Then, he saw it, a small diplomatic courier vessel leaving the Citadel. No escorts, probably a low-priority run. But it had what he needed. He moved fast. Within 20 seconds, the courier was disabled, non-lethal. The pilot would live, confused but breathing. Gideon dragged the ship's signature into Echo's systems, cloned its ID, copied the clearance data. Now he had an entry key. Black Echo approached the Citadel like a friendly visitor. No one questioned it. As it slipped past the outer ring, Gideon felt a moment of calm, like a predator inside the herd. Inside Kefar, Admiral Sovra Tal sat in her glass office, high above the central tribunal dome. Her hair was tied back in the old core military style. Her uniform perfect, her hands steady as she scrolled through fleet reports. She had no idea. She hadn't thought of Earth in decades. Maybe never. To her, it had been a campaign, a resolution, a mission completed. Until now. The moment the Black Echo breached the inner docking bay, the Citadel's systems flickered. Not alarms, not weapons, just confusion. The AI announced the courier's arrival, but the hangar reported no shuttle on deck. One by one, systems started logging inconsistencies. Doors opened where they shouldn't. Lights flickered. Identity scans failed to process. Then someone noticed. "Unregistered signature in Bay 6, a junior technician said. "Jam it," said her superior. "Probably just a glitch." But by then, Gideon was already inside. Not in person, just his voice. Every screen in the Citadel, every monitor, every wall-sized display. They all blinked black. Then showed his face. The same face that had haunted Admiral Crine. The same one who'd been declared dead with the rest of Earth. Now staring down at them all. He spoke slowly. "You thought Earth was quiet because it died. You were wrong. It was quiet because it was waiting." Gasps erupted in the halls. Officers shouted, trying to override the display. Engineers smashed buttons. But nothing worked. "You killed our people. You called it peace. You buried our name and wiped our records like history was your property." Inside the central tribunal dome, senators and military chiefs froze mid-session. His voice echoed through every speaker, every hallway, every mind. "But you forgot one thing. Humanity isn't erased by silence. It remembers in the dark. And when the time is right, it comes back to ask a question." The screen flashed. Footage played. The council room, the vote. The moment Admiral Sovratal said the words that killed a planet. Gasps turned to silence. Some stood. Some sat in horror. Then, his voice returned. "This is not terrorism. This is not revenge. This is the answer you were too arrogant to expect." Then the event core charged. Target: Kefir's memory grid. Not the people, not the buildings, not even Sovratal. Just their records. Every lie, every cover-up, every version of truth they told themselves for 50 years. Gone. The wave hit like a silent scream. Kefir's central servers flickered, trembled, and died. Files vanished. Archives crumbled into digital ash. Every classified log of Earth's fall, every forged justification, every revised account. Wiped. Across the galaxy, core-connected systems logged a catastrophic breach. And then, a message appeared on every one. "We are not forgotten. We are not forgiven. We are not finished." Gideon. Inside her office, Admiral Sovratal watched it all. Her hands trembled for the first time in decades. She knew. He was coming for her. And unlike the others, he wouldn't miss. The halls of Kefir Citadel were built from reinforced alloy and arrogance. Each corridor gleamed with sterilized white light, flanked by seamless black floors that hummed underfoot. The design was intentional, clean, intimidating, soulless, like a monument built for those who wanted to forget what it took to hold power. But now even the hum was different. Lights flickered. Doors glitched open and shut. Guards stood at every major junction, weapons raised but uncertain. Everyone on the Citadel had seen the face, his face, and no one had seen Sovratal. She'd locked herself in the upper-tier War Council chamber. Sealed access, biolocks enabled, no internal comms. Only the highest members of the High Command even knew where she was. But Gideon didn't need directions. He was already inside, not in the room, not yet, but inside the Citadel, moving like a ghost through blind spots and service shafts, following schematics carved into his brain years ago. Black Echo hadn't just been a ship. It was built alongside a network, a fail-safe web embedded in the infrastructure of Union-controlled systems. Earth had planned for survival, for vengeance. Gideon had just been the match. He moved silently, his breathing measured. The tactical suit he wore was matte black, plated, with kinetic dampeners that silenced each step. On his back, a short-range repeater rifle, custom-built with disruptor shells, enough to drop a soldier without killing him. He didn't come to kill the whole citadel, just one person. But he wouldn't cry if a few others got in the way. From behind a shadowed corner, he spotted a two-man patrol. Young, clueless, panicked. They were whispering, weapons up, backs toward him. They didn't hear him move. The first one went down with a pressure choke, unconscious in under 2 seconds. The second tried to turn, but Gideon disarmed him before his fingers could find the trigger. A soft crack followed. No scream. No alarm. He dragged both into a storage bay. Kafer wasn't a fortress anymore. It was a tomb that hadn't realized it was dead yet. He moved through the side corridors, up the main shaft lifts, past decontamination zones and through internal gravity shifts that left most intruders disoriented. Not him. Every inch of this place was burned into him. He'd spent a decade studying it, preparing. Now he was breathing it. Finally, he reached the outer perimeter of the War Council chamber, a massive, oval-shaped floor enclosed by energy shielding and a 12-point biometric lock. No way through it, unless you'd planned for it. He reached into his belt, pulled a circular node no larger than his palm, pressed the center. The device flickered, shimmered, then split into 12 arcs, each one magnetized. He placed them on the access points, then waited. The AI voice in his ear buzzed, "Code overlay established," keylocks failing. 17 seconds. He didn't flinch. The guards on the other side of the gate finally noticed something. One turned, shouted, "Too late." The door collapsed in a shimmer of fading light, the magnetic nodes dissolving like ash. Gideon stepped through. The guards raised their weapons, but didn't fire. They saw his face. They'd seen the footage, the speech, the truth. They hesitated, and that was enough. He moved like a wave, not fluid, but crashing. The rifle barked twice, once left, once right. Both men dropped, groaning but breathing. No death. Not yet. Then he looked up. And there she was, Admiral Sovra Tal. She stood across the chamber, tall and rigid, her uniform still perfectly pressed, silver hair tied back, the same way it had been in the vote footage. Only now she looked older, thinner, like time had drained her, but left the pride behind. "You made it farther than I expected," she said, voice firm but strained. He didn't reply. She stepped closer, but not too close. The room around them was silent, empty now. The War Council had evacuated during the override. She was alone. "Do you feel better now?" she asked, head tilted. "After all this blood?" Gideon's jaw clenched. "You really don't get it. I understand exactly what you are." He took a slow step forward. "Number, you don't. You think I'm vengeance, that this is about making you pay. Isn't it?" He stopped 10 feet from her, the weapon in his hands lowered, not relaxed, just deliberate. "This isn't about pain. This is about remembrance. You erased a planet, a species, a history. You thought if no one spoke of it, it never happened?" He pointed the rifle at her now. "But now they know. All of them." Sovra's eyes narrowed. "And what did that buy you, Gideon?" "Sympathy. There won't be peace after this. The Union is angry, embarrassed, ashamed. But they won't change. They'll call you a terrorist, a ghost, a glitch in the archives." She stepped forward again, slow, like she was talking to a child. You burned outposts. You crippled fleets. You broadcast classified council meetings to every planet in the central core. And for what? They'll just wipe it again. Then I'll keep coming. His voice didn't raise. It dropped, heavy. If I have to spend the rest of my life tearing pieces off this rotten empire, I will. I'll leave behind a trail of truth and blood so thick that no one can pretend it didn't happen. Sovra exhaled. She didn't look scared. But there was something beneath her voice now. Weariness. They told me Earth was dangerous. I believed them. You were violent, aggressive, tribal. You refused every diplomatic offer. We didn't trust you. Because you didn't want to join. Because we knew what happened to species that did join. She looked away then, and for the first time, she didn't have a reply. Gideon slowly raised the rifle again. Her eyes returned to his, steady. You going to execute me then? On camera? Broadcast to the galaxy? No, she blinked. No? I'm not giving you a martyr's death. She opened her mouth, but stopped. I'm taking you with me. Before she could speak, the AI buzzed in his ear. Extraction sequence complete. Shuttle arriving in 30 seconds. Sovra's face darkened. You think I'll talk? I'll die before I give you anything. Gideon nodded. Good. Then die in a cage. A symbol. A living reminder of what this empire did. He walked forward, rifle still pointed. Because now every time someone asks, why did humanity send only one ship? They'll remember what you did, and they'll see you, sitting in a cell, while the truth spreads like wildfire. She lunged suddenly, fast, military-trained, going for his wrist. He struck first. Not with the rifle, with a stun blast from the gauntlet on his free hand. She collapsed, unconscious, alive. The shuttle docked seconds later. Quiet. Stealth configured. Gideon carried her on his shoulder, moved through the halls like a shadow again. The guards who saw him didn't stop him. Some nodded. Some stepped aside. The truth had cracked something open in them, too. By the time the shuttle left Kefar's orbit, the news had already spread. Admiral Sovra Tal, captured. The woman who ordered Earth's death, now a prisoner on a ship built from its ashes. A single ship. A single man. The galaxy didn't understand why Earth sent only one. Now it was starting to. And Gideon wasn't done yet. The holding cell inside Black Echo was nothing like a prison. It wasn't cold. It wasn't brutal. It was clinical. Surgical. A rectangular chamber, lined with pressure-regulated walls, anti-static mesh, and a single chair bolted to the floor. It was designed not for torture, but containment. You couldn't scream inside it. You couldn't even echo. Fitting, Gideon had thought. Sovra Tal sat in that chair, wrists magnetically cuffed to the sides, her ankles bound. She was calm, composed, but not defiant. Not anymore. There were no demands now, no speeches, no arrogance. The silence between them spoke more than anything else ever could. He watched her through the screen, just for a few minutes. He wasn't gloating. He wasn't relishing the sight of her broken. He just wanted to remember what she looked like, what they looked like. Those who made decisions from high towers while people burned below. Behind him, the AI spoke quietly. Transmission network secured. Galactic broadcast relay standing by. Shall I begin the link? Gideon didn't answer immediately. He turned from the screen, walked to the control panel, and looked over the list of target channels. Union emergency frequency, civilian widebands, free world news hubs, independent relay networks, every major eye in the galaxy. He pressed the pad. Start. The ship vibrated, faintly, then stabilized, and across thousands of planets, moons, stations, habitats, ships, from fringe colonies to the golden halls of the core, screens flickered. The symbol of the Union vanished. and was replaced by Gideon's face. He stood still, in the center of the frame, lit by the ship's red interior lights, silent for the first few seconds, letting the weight of his presence settle in. Then he spoke. "You know my name now." He didn't introduce himself again. He didn't need to. 50 years ago, Earth was erased, not conquered, not annexed, erased, not by accident, not by mistake, but by vote. The screen split. One side showed Gideon, the other. Footage. The secret footage. The closed room meeting, the vote, the nods, the Admiral's words. He let it play. Let them all watch. Let them see. Then he spoke again. "This woman." The screen shifted to Sovra, still cuffed, still silent. Cast the vote that led to the deaths of over 1 billion civilians. Mothers, fathers, scientists, engineers, children. All of them labeled threats, all of them executed in silence. He paused. Not for drama, but for grief. It never left him, not really. "She called it peace. You called it protocol. Your politicians called it necessary. But here's the truth." He leaned forward slightly, just enough to cut through the screen. "You destroyed us, because we scared you." The footage now showed Earth before the purge. Cities glowing, ships launching, achievements scrawled across the sky in flame and brilliance. "We built faster than you wanted. We fought harder than you expected. We didn't ask permission. We didn't kneel." The images changed again. Earth burning, orbital strikes, screaming broadcasts. "So you buried us." Now Gideon stood straight again. "But you didn't bury us deep enough." Then came the real twist. The camera panned, slowly, to Sovra Tal, sitting in the holding chair, bruised, stripped of rank and uniform. Gideon's voice returned. "She will not be executed." That part, unexpected. No matter how badly I want it, the tension rose across a galaxy. Because her death would make her a victim. Her survival will make her a symbol. Then the feed pulsed again. "I am broadcasting the Earth Resolution's original documents, the unaltered archives, the actual vote, the execution plans, the names, the signatures. I am uploading it to every open net in the core, every back alley fringe port, every backwater colony." The transmission spiked. Thousands of data packets exploded across the hypernet like a virus made of memory. "You will not forget us again." He let it hang for one last moment. Then he ended the feed. On core planet Selenus, one of the wealthiest cities in the galaxy, riots began within hours. Crowds gathered outside the Parliament hub, demanding resignations. Screens were torn from walls. Soldiers stood, unsure whether to protect or join. On Hadrox Station, a group of ex-military veterans formed the Human Truth Legion, an independent force vowing to protect what remained of human enclaves scattered across the outer belt. On Trisari Prime, 2 council members publicly resigned, stating they had reviewed the footage and would no longer serve a government built on genocide. But not all responses were hopeful. On Varnak 7, a core loyalist war marshal declared Gideon a galaxy-level threat, ordering a blanket kill-on-sight protocol for all sympathizers. 10 activists were arrested for merely rebroadcasting the video. A war of truth had begun, and the galaxy was no longer united. Inside Black Echo, Gideon stood in the dim light of the command bay, watching the ripple effect across sector reports. He didn't look proud. He looked tired. The AI's voice returned. "Transmission complete. Primary core channels compromised. 70% civilian systems absorbed the data before intercepts triggered." "Good," he muttered. "Civil unrest rising in 13 major systems. Political fractures growing." He didn't reply. He just looked down at his hands. They weren't shaking, but they weren't steady either. Then came a different alert. Incoming transmission. Source, unregistered civilian craft. Encryption, Earth signature. His head snapped up. He tapped the console. Open it. The screen flickered, and a face appeared. A woman, worn, weathered, but unmistakably human. Dirty blonde hair, one scar across the cheek. His eyes widened. Alina, she smiled. Took you long enough. Alina Rorn had been presumed dead. She was last seen aboard a failing Mars defense cruiser 20 minutes before it was torn apart by Union kinetic fire. Gideon had carried that memory like a stone. Now she was here. Real. He didn't speak at first. Neither did she. Just silence, relief, disbelief. Then she exhaled. You did it, didn't you? You really did it. He nodded once. It's not done. Number, but you cracked it open. He finally sat. Where are you? We've got a safe system. Fringe colony, mixed species, no Union loyalty. We've been building, waiting, for someone to show the galaxy the truth. Gideon's eyes narrowed slightly. You have people? She nodded. More than you think. His mind spun. Options, possibilities, a network, a resistance, not just vengeance, actual movement. Then we start rebuilding, he said. She grinned faintly. No, Gideon. You already started that. She looked at him differently now, not like the weapon they once trained, not like the soldier buried in grief, but like the man who might become something bigger. Then her tone changed. Gideon, they'll come harder now, not just fleets, assassins, propaganda. They'll try to erase you again. He nodded slowly. They can try. Inside her cell, Sovra Tal sat with her eyes closed. The sound of riot broadcasts echoed faintly through the walls. Somewhere in her gut, she realized, the galaxy would never be the same again. And her name? It would not be honored in the Corps' statues. It would be remembered in shame. Gideon had ensured that, and he was just getting started. The Corps Union moved fast. They always had when it came to containment. But this time, containment wasn't about a leak or an uprising. This time, it was about a man who should have died 5 decades ago. A man who came from a burned-out world with nothing left but hate and truth. A man named Gideon. After the broadcast, the Union activated Protocol Absolver, a rarely used doctrine reserved for galactic-level existential threats. It gave unrestricted authority to Corps security operations to deploy anywhere, use any method, and silence any target. The first name on the list, Gideon. The second, Alina Rorn. The third, anyone who played the footage. Within 24 hours, dozens were dead. Civilian news hubs were blacked out. Pirate broadcasters executed. Ships traced and vaporized. Fringe colonies hit with accidental reactor meltdowns. The Union wanted to bury the fire under ash, fast. But they'd underestimated how far the spark had spread. Gideon hadn't started a rebellion. He'd started a reckoning. On the remote jungle moon of Asta 9, deep in a hidden excavation bunker camouflaged beneath the roots of massive blue-glass trees, a meeting was taking place. No banners, no flags, no hierarchy, just survivors. Humans. Maybe 100 of them. Men and women who'd been scattered across the stars for 50 years, hiding, surviving, waiting for something impossible. Hope. Gideon stood at the front of the circle, Alina beside him. They didn't look like leaders. They didn't want to be. But they were the ones who lit the fire. So now they bore its heat. A tall man named Burke stepped forward, arms crossed, face weathered. Some of us thought we'd never see another of our kind again. We stopped believing. You think this message changes everything? Gideon looked around. Some of these people had lost entire families. Others had barely escaped Earth with skin and bones. Most had spent their lives blending in, hiding what they were. He spoke low, but firm. No message changes the past. He held up a data slate, the vote logs, the footage, the plan for genocide. But it can make damn sure no one forgets it again. A woman near the back raised her hand. She looked no older than 30, born after Earth. What do we do now? Fight? Hide? Alina stepped forward. We unify. We build. No more hiding. Burke narrowed his eyes. You're talking war. Gideon nodded. I'm talking reminder. They wanted to erase us. Now they'll see us on every world they step on, every star they pass, every system they land in. He stepped closer. I don't want peace. Not from them. I want consequence. The silence was heavy. But then, slowly, heads nodded. Not because they wanted violence, because violence had been done to them, and silence hadn't saved them. Meanwhile, in the golden tower of Kalen's Reach, the Core Union's inner elite gathered in secret session. 12 council members, 3 high admirals, 1 chancellor, and none of them were calm. The broadcast has reached beyond our quadrant, Councillor Jor growled, slamming a hand on the holotable. Dozens of systems are questioning the validity of our authority. They're questioning whether we're even the good guys, another whispered. The chancellor, a thin, cold-eyed woman named Irel Ven, stood at the head of the room, staring out into the void. Her voice was calm, always calm. He cannot be allowed to survive. Admiral Kasich scoffed. We've sent 20 hunters. None have returned. He's one man, another barked. No, Irel corrected. He's a story now, and stories are harder to kill than men. They were silent. Then she turned to her head tactician. Deploy Task Force Theta. Silence his network. And if that fails... She turned her eyes towards the screen, showing Sovra Tal in her holding cell aboard Black Echo. Destroy him, her, and the ship. But the political fallout... Let it fall. Her voice sharpened. Let it all fall. If we lose control of the narrative, we lose the galaxy. But the galaxy was already slipping through their fingers. Because Gideon had stopped reacting. He was preparing. On Asta 9, Black Echo was no longer alone. Ships were arriving, some from hidden Earth bunkers, others from human sympathizers embedded in alien communities, smugglers, rogue pilots, even one ex-Union commander. Not an army, not yet, but enough to hurt, enough to spread. Alina walked with Gideon through the main bay where new arrivals gathered. This isn't what I expected, she said quietly. What did you expect? She shrugged. You, alone? Rage burning through metal? He chuckled faintly. I expected that too. She stopped him with a hand on his shoulder. You're not alone anymore. He looked at her, not with romance, not with gratitude, but with trust. That was more rare than anything else. I'm not good at leading people, he muttered. Then don't. Inspire them. Let them lead themselves. He nodded. Then the AI's voice cut through the bay. Proximity alert. Core vessel entering system. Single ship. Stealth signature. Trajectory vector. Straight at us. Gideon didn't hesitate. Shields up. Evac all non-combatants. Bring Black Echo online. Alina was already moving, barking orders. Outside the bunker, the jungle shook as turbines roared. The Union had come, and they hadn't brought diplomacy. The enemy ship was sleek, long and blade-shaped, painted obsidian black, pulsing with null energy along its spine. Task Force Theta's flagship, the Vexor, not a warship, an executioner, designed not to fight fleets, but to wipe out incidents. Inside, masked operatives suited up in whisper armor, heatless, soundless, faceless, trained not to kill with force, but precision. Elite assassins grown in silence and raised to die unnoticed. They didn't expect a war, just a cleanup. What they got was Gideon. As the Vexor breached Asta 9's outer layer, Black Echo roared from its camouflage, lighting up the sky with a full-force plasma barrage. Not enough to destroy, but enough to wound. The first strike tore the Vexor's port engine apart. The second burned their gravity anchor. The ship crashed into the jungle like a fallen god, trees cracking, earth splitting, fire rising. And then came Gideon. He didn't wait, didn't give them time to recover. He landed Black Echo like a warhammer, tore open the side of the Vexor's hull, and stepped inside with a repeater rifle glowing like vengeance made metal. The operatives came fast, but they'd never fought someone like him. He moved like someone with nothing left to lose, like a man who'd waited 50 years for someone to make this mistake. One by one, they fell. Not all dead, some just broken. Some spared. Because he wanted witnesses. The last one tried to detonate the Vexor's core. Gideon shot the control panel mid-activation. "No," he growled. "You're going to watch it burn." Later, as the sun broke over the shattered Vexor, Gideon stood atop the wreckage, Black Echo hovering behind him like a shadow. The survivors of Asta 9 gathered around. Some cheered, some wept, but most just stared. This wasn't just resistance now. This was rebirth. Humanity had been hunted. Now it was hunting back. The core union didn't wait this time. The Vexor's failure wasn't just a loss. It was humiliation. Across the galactic net, footage leaked. Black Echo tearing through elite operatives, the ship's wreckage smoking in the dawnlight, and Gideon, Earth's last warhound, standing tall. The myth wasn't just alive. It was growing. And myths were dangerous things. So they sent everything. From Kefir, the core launched the Titan Protocol. 3 dreadnoughts, 9 war carriers, 1 AI-controlled siege hive capable of planetary sterilization, all aimed at Asta 9. Asta 9 wasn't a base anymore. It was a target. Gideon didn't blink when the reports came in. He sat in Black Echo's cockpit, staring at the incoming markers. Red. Dozens. Hundreds. More than he'd ever faced. More than Black Echo was ever meant to face. But he wasn't the same man who climbed aboard that ship months ago. He wasn't just vengeance anymore. He was the voice of what should have been remembered. Behind him, the resistance prepared. Alina stood with command captains and exiles, planning ground defense. Rorn satellites activated across the system, jamming Union scanning arrays. Old Earth tech, janky, half-rusted, but loyal. Gideon stood before the warboard, hands behind his back. "I'm not fighting to win," he said, voice steady. Burke frowned. "Then what the hell are we doing?" Gideon looked at him. "We're fighting so everyone watching knows who started this, and what it costs to erase a people." Alina stepped beside him. "They'll see." He turned to her. "I need you to survive this." "Don't," she said. "Don't give me the goodbye speech. Not from you." He paused. "Then don't make me say it." She gave a bitter smile, touched his shoulder, then disappeared into the prep lines. Black Echo powered up. Its spine pulsed blood red. Gideon's face turned hard. Let them come. The core Union fleet dropped into Asta 9's orbit with surgical timing. They didn't fire immediately. They wanted to send a message first. Chancellor Irel Ven herself appeared on every active transmission in-system. Her face was statuesque, pale, sharp-boned, eyes like frozen water. "You have chosen to shelter a war criminal." The message was clear. "Withdraw your allegiance to Gideon. Turn him over, or this moon dies with him." Across Asta 9, people stopped. They looked up at the sky. The ships blotted out the sun. The siege hive hummed with distant energy, a quiet threat louder than any scream. Then, the sky cracked. Gideon's counter-broadcast cut through the Union line like a blade. His face appeared, worn, bruised, eyes rimmed with exhaustion and fire. "You called me a war criminal." He didn't shout. He didn't plead. "But I didn't start the war. I just lived long enough to finish the sentence." Images flashed. Earth's cities before the purge, the vote footage, Sovratal, the Corps' lies, their silence, the billions they thought would never speak again. "You wanted silence. You wanted peace without truth. But peace built on ash is a lie with a ticking clock." He leaned closer. "I'm the sound of that clock." The feed cut. Then came the noise. The first volley lit up the stars. Union dreadnoughts fired kinetic spears that split mountains and evaporated forests. But Black Echo didn't sit still. It moved like no warship had ever moved, short-folding through folds in gravity, jumping between impact zones, unleashing event ripples that carved deep into carrier flanks. The resistance on the ground activated old Earth ballistae, massive spike throwers charged with unstable ion bursts, piercing core armor and destabilizing their landing craft. Gideon tore through Union squadrons like a ghost in a burning cathedral. He wasn't aiming to win. He was aiming to make them feel it. Every hit they took, every pilot that screamed over the comms, every ship that saw their sensor logs flood with Gideon's face before impact. He was becoming more than a man. He was memory-given metal and fire. But the Union had numbers, and they were closing in. The siege hive turned its mouth toward Asta 9's surface. It didn't fire missiles. It dropped sterilization cores, black spheres that burrowed into a planet's crust and detonated from within. One landed in the northern hemisphere, then another. Gideon watched it from orbit, jaw clenched. If those detonated, it wouldn't just end the resistance. It would erase the soil, the history. Again, he turned Black Echo. One last jump, straight into the mouth of the hive. Inside the ship, the AI spoke. "Core reactor destabilization required. No ejection capability if engaged." "I know. Escape probability, 0.00032%. "I know." There was a pause. Then the AI said, "You taught me rage." He smiled faintly. "Then let's scream together." Black Echo's reactor roared to life, humming higher than it had ever dared. Event wave capacitor pushed past red line. The ship vibrated like it was screaming into hell. Then it launched. The galaxy watched. Every feed still active, every open screen, every planet where the truth had landed. They watched one man, one ship, punch through the teeth of the most powerful military construct in known history and detonate from the inside. The explosion didn't ripple. It rippled time. The sky cracked in a way space wasn't supposed to. The siege hive didn't just break. It vanished, its core torn through an event rift and spat into nothingness. Half the Union fleet broke formation in shock. Others turned and ran. The surface of Asta 9 shook, but held. Gideon was gone. Black Echo was gone. But the world was alive. In the weeks that followed, the Union fractured. Chancellor Venn was overthrown by internal revolt. Dozens of systems declared neutrality, pulling out of core alliances. Monuments to the Union's peace campaigns were torn down. And on New Terra, a colony once forced to hide its human origins, the people built a new statue, not of Gideon holding a weapon, but of him standing alone, hands down, face up, unafraid. Beneath it, a single line was etched in 7 languages. They asked why we only sent one ship. The answer is written in fire across the stars.